One of the biggest problems that a lot of Overwatch players have is learning how to play a Genji. To be completely honest though, Genji's really not all that complicated. You can easily learn how to play Genji if you can master cyber agility and successive combos that actually connect with their targets. And I am going to show you how. Genji is a 3-star hero, and there is definitely a reason for that. He's incredibly squishy, but at the same time, he can also push out a lot of damage. Assuming you can balance player maneuverability, Genji's ability cooldowns, and the incoming damage. Genji has 4 primary abilities and 1 passive: Shuriken, Deflect, Swift Strike, and Dragon Blade. His passive ability is incredibly handy, so we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that right now, because it will keep you the fuck alive, believe me. Cyber agility is by far the most important ability that a player can utilize while playing Genji. It allows you to scale walls like a fucking spider and do 2 fucking jumps up in the air. It's awesome. It's also a pain in the ass to control if you haven't really put a lot of time into Genji. I would suggest opening up a private skirmish or putting yourself in the training area and kind of screwing around with his abilities for a minute. The more you use it, the more you'll get the hang of it. The more effective it becomes in a real combat scenario. To show you what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you guys a couple of skirmishes that I recorded myself on a few different maps. That way you guys can get a better handle on what I mean when I use the word maneuverability. Genji can be a significantly more dangerous target with cyber agility because not only can he maneuver from the left to the right, but he can also maneuver up and down. And he can use Swift Strike in whichever direction he's currently facing. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about maneuverability. Cyber agility can make Genji nearly impossible to hit. The best attack cooldown strategy, in my opinion, is to jump over or above the target that you're currently attacking, alternating your shuriken attacks between mouse 1 and mouse 2, which changes the arc, thus changing the effectiveness and damage of the projectile going out. Mouse 2 fires a spread arc of 3, and mouse 1 fires 3 head-on for more precise attacks. The 3 biggest tips I give to Genji players is to stay in the air, stay on the move, and be conservative with your abilities. Genji doesn't have as many attack combos as Doomfist does. Don't waste your Swift Strike just because you had to kill that Tracer. He has an 8-second cooldown on both of his primary abilities, and that's not something you want to get caught out in the open with. Next, we're going to talk about Genji's attack combos, which involve all 4 of his primary abilities. Knowing how you can work these abilities together is the ultimate key to success. This attack combo right here is by far one of the most important because it's both offensive and defensive. Deflect, Swift Strike, and then Reverse Shuriken. 9 times out of 10, this will disorient your target's tracking and allow you to escape. Here's another example of the same strategy with an ultimate finisher. Deflect, Swift Strike, and then Reverse Shuriken. If your tracking is good, you will never fucking fail. This last attack strategy is for more offensive situations. Pretty simple. Shuriken, Swift Strike, Shuriken, and then Melee. It's a 4-hit high damage combo that typically eliminates as long as all 4 hits connect, provided your target's max HP is 200 or less. A real effective tactic with Genji is to jump from a perch and Swift Strike at a target below. That's the perfect time to throw in a deflect once you turn around, because chances are they'll begin to panic and fire randomly, and there are very few things that Genji cannot deflect. Before I close out this video, I want to show everybody the glory of how fucking wonderful a deflect can work if you place it right. Aside from cyber agility, deflect is probably one of Genji's most valued abilities. That's because it reflects nearly all projectiles and their stopping power back at the target. These projectiles are reflected back at the exact same angle in the opposite direction of which they came, so keep that in mind. Now, without further ado, here are some examples. There is no right way to deflect projectiles. You just kinda do it and just fucking hope for the best. But always follow up deflect with an attack or an evasion. Deflect can also nullify a rocket barrage, which is really handy because Pharah doesn't move when she uses it. It's a great way to damage or get past a diva, though it usually doesn't happen like this, so I would not recommend charging a diva head on. Lastly, keep in mind you can also block Reinhardt's fire bolts if you need to. Of course, try not to get hammered like I just did, but still. Like I said earlier, always follow up a deflect with an attack or an evasion of some sort. Never stay in one fucking spot. I can't stress that enough. You will die if you are not on the move. So, I've given you the tips, I've given you the strategies, now it's your turn to go out there and play and get some experience and learn to play Genji, because if you don't, you're going to end up a lot like this.